It feels like it's getting a lot more difficult to convince people that staying in Western countries or moving to the West is going to offer them a fruitful future. Now, if you just look at the state of the world right now, and the state of Western countries when it comes to the future, the next generations, younger generations, you could say millennials, but I think millennials are already well in the thick of this and they're well aware of this right now. But Gen Z and then Gen Alpha, Gen Beta was the last generation that was born recently. My son, for example, is Gen Beta, Logan. If you look at what the countries have to offer, there's not much left, right? I mean, apart from the currency, and I've mentioned this before, there's not much. You could say safety, but have you seen the fentanyl addicts that are walking around in major cities in the Western world? It's insane. It feels like you're in a zombie apocalypse movie when you go downtown. Even here in a relatively safe city in Canada called Calgary, we experience this a lot too downtown, and it blows my mind. Public transit I've only ever really used a few times here, but both times that I have used it, I've noticed a few sketchy individuals. When I was in Toronto recently, when I lived there my entire life, I never experienced that until maybe the last 5 or 6 years. It was becoming more common. Every once in a while you get like a random occurrence here and there, but it became way too common. And it just makes it feel like the general safety that the West used to offer people, the financial stability and the ability to build wealth is no longer as present as it used to be. And also the fact that home prices are so detached. Now, if you're watching from the States, it's not quite as bad, but I know the States, that you guys are going through a bit of a housing crisis as well. But in Canada, we've been experiencing this for over a decade. I would say 12 to 13 years we've been experiencing a housing crisis. And it's only getting worse. And it's like literally happened as soon as I got to college. So it's like I'm in college and you're seeing everything around you go to shit and you're like, why am I here? Why am I paying tuition to potentially enter? A lot of people don't even get jobs after college. A job market that is not going to pay what I need to actually comfortably live. And it's just the weather too. Like a lot of Western countries experience winter, unfortunately. And you could say that makes people more productive because you have to plan ahead, and there's definitely some arguments there to be said. But when it doesn't really reap the same rewards as it used to, what's the point of living in a country that offers winter? 5 to 7, 8 months a year sometimes? Here in Calgary, mid-May. In mid-May, it snowed. Now, coming from Toronto, I've never experienced snow in May. It kind of blew my mind. But mid-May, it snowed. In Toronto, you can get snow in April. It's not super common to get snow like mid-April in Toronto. Usually it's all melting by then. But to experience that recently, then even today, it's cold and rainy. The weather is just so miserable. The people are miserable. That Canadian friendliness that people used to, kind of lay out to people is kind of gone now. Those little quiet pleasantries and stuff like that. The holding the door open for someone, the greetings, hello, how's it going? Bye, have a nice day. Those are so not common anymore. And it's not that big of a deal in a sense that it doesn't really matter. No, but it definitely makes you feel like you're part of a social cohesive country, right? Or a city, town, whatever. And it doesn't feel like that way anymore. And it sucks because we moved here for a better life. Because Toronto was just so unbelievably expensive, especially in terms of housing and the crime and the safety. And if we were going to start a family, that was the plan. If we were buying a house and starting a family, Calgary seemed like the best option for us. And I gotta admit, right now, I don't know if it is. I don't know what the best option is anymore in Canada. Or in the Western world. People say, well, move to the United States. Sure, the United States is better right now than Canada, but things are catching up as well to the United States. It's not the land of milk and honey like it was before, too. Like, all of these countries have their own problems, and that's why I'm saying the West is collapsing in one of my previous videos, because it's pretty self-evident that might be the case. That is the case, actually, in a lot of ways. You look at the dollar going down, the currency is not as stable anymore. companies are doing mass layoffs. Housing market is way, way higher than average salaries. No one can afford kids anymore. And even in Canada, it's supposed to be a place that's, should be relatively not easy to afford kids. It's still expensive, but there's not a lot of benefits to having kids anymore in Canada. You don't get a lot, there's not a lot of social benefits. Even if you get child care benefit from the government, I think it's something like $300 a month. It might be dependent on salary, but it's like $300 a month. Do you know how much diapers cost in 1 month? Food? And also time. Like, you can't take time off the way you could to actually foster a child and give them a good life. You need time off from work, and you can't really do that because you don't get enough leave at your job. And luckily I'm self-employed, but because I work from home, it feels like I get less work done, or I'm not as productive as I feel like I could be, because I'm taking care of my child, Logan, every single weekend by myself, and then obviously as well during the evenings when he's not in a day home. And we opted for a day home over a day care because day homes, there's not as many kids. It's a little bit more easy to keep an eye on kids. Daycares, I hear horrible stories here in Canada of how bad they've gotten. Oh, God, I would never. Yeah, no. It would have to be a ridiculously good daycare for me to consider bringing Logan there. But these are all of the reasons why I truly do believe that it's not as prosperous or even just as desirable of a place to go to if you're thinking about moving to a Western country. Now, I'm not saying there isn't any valid reasons. Like, if you're in a country that is impoverished by war and stuff, that's a whole other story. But if you're like in a developing country like Mexico, Brazil, I don't know, like Chile, countries like that, honestly, I think they might be on the up while a lot of Western countries are on the decline. And it's not even just because of weather. The food there is more natural. There is more of a sense of family there than here in Canada. It feels like children are definitely not the future. It feels like the government is actively going against the children in Canada. And it feels like it's just not a good place to live anymore. But that's just my thoughts. If you agree with them or if you disagree, leave it down below in the comment section, because I think it's an interesting topic to exchange some dialogue with. And maybe you guys have a comment in the comment section that inspires me to make another video about something else a little bit different. Leave your thoughts down below in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.